Jalen Tolbert came into the 2024 season with something to prove. After a quiet start to his NFL career, all eyes were on whether he could finally take that next step and become a dependable weapon in the Cowboys' offense. And to be fair, he didn't shy away from the challenge. He suited up as a starter in 15 of 17 games, drawing 79 targets and hauling in 49 catches. That turned into 610 receiving yards and 7 touchdowns. Not bad numbers for a player who many doubted would even crack the starting lineup coming out of training camp. Tolbert's chemistry with Dak Prescott noticeably improved, especially on intermediate routes where timing and trust are everything. His ability to create separation and make contested catches gave Dak a reliable option, particularly in clutch third-down situations. At times, he looked like the player the Cowboys envisioned when they drafted him in the 3rd round back in 2022. But even with those flashes, there's still a lingering question. Was it enough? The Cowboys' offense, as you know, has plenty of mouths to feed. Between CeeDee Lamb taking on the WR1 role, Jake Ferguson stepping up at tight end, and the backfield committee demanding its share of attention, there were times when Tolbert found himself phased out of the game plan. And now, with the addition of George Pickens, it's fair to wonder whether there's still a path for Tolbert to maintain or even expand his role moving forward. Let's be honest, he did what was asked of him. He showed growth, produced when given opportunities, and proved he can contribute. But in Dallas, good isn't always good enough. This is a team with Super Bowl ambitions and little patience for developmental projects. So, is Jalen Tolbert part of the future or just a placeholder? I want to hear what you think. Did Tolbert show enough in 2024 to keep his spot on this roster, or should the Cowboys explore other options? Drop your take in the comments. I'll be reading through them. And hey, if you're enjoying this breakdown, hit that like button and make sure you're subscribed to Cowboys News TV. We're pushing to hit 14,000 subscribers, and your support gets us closer every day. Let's keep it going, because this story is just getting started. Now let's talk about the big elephant in the room, George Pickens. The Cowboys didn't bring him in just to add depth. They brought him in to shake things up. Pickens is a physical, explosive receiver with WR1 upside, and his arrival sends a clear message. Dallas wants more firepower on offense, and they're not afraid to make bold moves to get it. But what does that mean for Jalen Tolbert? Well, to put it simply, it complicates things. Pickens brings a completely different skill set to the table. He's a vertical threat who can stretch the field and win one-on-one matchups on the outside, which instantly puts pressure on guys like Tolbert, who are still trying to lock down their place in the pecking order. With CeeDee Lamb firmly established as the top option, and Brandon Cooks still capable of big plays, Tolbert suddenly finds himself in a crowded room where reps and targets will be hard to come by. You've probably heard it before. Competition makes everyone better. And that's true. But it also forces teams to make tough choices. If Pickens performs the way many expect, there's a real chance Tolbert could see his role reduced significantly. Not necessarily because he did anything wrong, but because the Cowboys might simply have better options. The coaching staff will say all the right things, that it's about versatility, about having different weapons for different looks. But the reality is, NFL teams prioritize playmakers who can change games. And if Pickens starts racking up big plays early in the season, the Cowboys may feel even more comfortable leaning into that, even if it means moving on from someone like Tolbert. So here's the question I've got for you. Do you think George Pickens is going to push Jalen Tolbert out of the rotation? Or can both guys coexist in this offense? Let me know in the comments. I really want to know how you see this playing out. And while you're at it, hit that like button if you want to keep these deep Cowboys discussions going, and make sure you're subscribed to Cowboys News TV. We're working toward that 14,000 subscriber milestone, and your support is the reason we keep grinding out these videos for fans like you. Because next up, we're diving into a very real possibility. Could the Cowboys actually trade Jalen Tolbert? The idea of trading Jalen Tolbert might have sounded crazy a year ago. He was coming off a modest second season and just starting to build chemistry with Dak Prescott. But now, with George Pickens in the building and the wide receiver room starting to overflow, it's not just a possibility. It might be the smartest move the Cowboys could make. Think about it. Tolbert's stock is higher than it's ever been. He's coming off a solid 2024 campaign. He's still on a cheap rookie contract, and he's shown enough flashes to intrigue teams that need a reliable WR3 or a developing WR2. If you're the Cowboys front office, this is exactly the type of player you want to sell high on before his value plateaus, or worse, drops. And it's not just about making room on the depth chart, it's also about addressing other needs. The Cowboys could absolutely use more depth along the offensive line. They could use another rotational defensive tackle, or even draft capital for 2025 to keep building through young, affordable talent. If Tolbert can bring back a quality piece at a position of need, why not explore that? Let's be clear, though. This wouldn't be a dump. We're not talking about cutting ties with a failed experiment. We're talking about leveraging a decent asset to improve the overall roster. That's the kind of forward-thinking move you see from teams that stay competitive year after year. And for Dallas, with a championship window that's open but not guaranteed to stay open forever, every roster spot and every snap counts. So here's the hypothetical. If the Cowboys could flip Tolbert for a solid depth lineman or a mid-round pick, would you pull the trigger? Vote yes or no in the comments. I'm seriously curious how split the fan base is on this. And if you're into these kinds of roster deep dives, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to Cowboys News TV. We're on the road to 14,000 subscribers, and your engagement helps more. Fans find the channel and join the conversation. Next, we're going to get into how Mike McCarthy and Brian Schottenheimer factor into this. Because when it comes to roster decisions like this, the coaching staff's vision plays a huge role, and their plan might surprise you. Now here's where things get even more interesting. What do Mike McCarthy and Brian Schottenheimer think about all this? Because no matter what kind of moves the front office is weighing, it's the coaching staff that ultimately has to put these pieces together on Sundays. And from everything we've seen so far, they're not exactly shy about shaking things up. McCarthy, for one, has always valued receivers who can execute with precision and consistency. He's not looking for highlight reel guys who disappear for stretches. He wants someone who knows his assignment, runs crisp routes, and makes plays in key moments. And that's actually where Jalen Tolbert made his biggest leap in 2024. His reliability, especially on third downs, caught the attention of the coaching staff. But still, is that enough when you're trying to build a top-5 offense? Brian Schottenheimer, the offensive coordinator, leans heavily on mismatches and flexibility. He likes to move guys around, create confusion for defenses, and take advantage of coverage breakdowns. Tolbert showed he can handle that complexity, but Pickens brings more raw mismatch potential. That's the kind of thing that can shift a coach's thinking, especially when you're trying to elevate the explosive plays that were missing at times last season. Here's the key. If the coaching staff believes Pickens can do everything Tolbert does and more, they might push for the front office to capitalize on Tolbert's value now, rather than let him slide into a lesser role and lose all trade leverage. But if McCarthy and Schottenheimer still see unique value in what Tolbert brings to the scheme, timing, route discipline, chemistry with Dak, then don't be surprised if they fight to keep him on the roster. It all comes down to alignment. Do the coaches see Tolbert as a core part of the offensive identity moving forward, or just a nice luxury? That answer could be the difference between him starting week 1 or being on a different team altogether. So I want to throw this back to you. If you were in Schottenheimer's shoes, would you keep Tolbert for the sake of system continuity, or roll with Pickens and shop Tolbert while the value is there? Drop your take below. I'll be looking for the smartest comments to feature in a future video. And hey, if you haven't yet, smash that like button and subscribe to Cowboys News TV. We're chasing that 14,000 mark, and your support makes all the difference. Up next, Let's tie this all together and figure out what this means for Tolbert and for the future of the Cowboys wide receiver room. So now that we've looked at the roster, the coaching philosophy, and the trade possibilities, where does that leave Jalen Tolbert? Honestly, he's sitting right at a career crossroads. This isn't about failure. It's not about disappointment. It's about timing, opportunity, and a roster that's evolving fast in a league that never slows down. Tolbert has done enough to prove he belongs in the NFL. He's worked his way back from a rough rookie year, built trust with Dak, and delivered when his number was called. That alone makes him a valuable asset, whether for Dallas or another team. But in today's NFL, value isn't just about what you've done. It's about what you're projected to do. And right now, George Pickens is stealing the spotlight. Not because Tolbert failed, but because Pickens might offer more upside in the system Dallas wants to run. And that's the harsh reality. Sometimes you can do everything right and still end up the odd man out, especially when a team is trying to shift gears and get over the playoff hump. So for Tolbert, the next few months are going to be critical. Training camp, preseason, and every rep in practice will be a test, not just to prove he belongs, but to prove he should stay. But here's the thing. This could go either way. He could absolutely surprise everyone, ball out in camp, and force the coaching staff to rethink their depth chart. Or the Cowboys could get an offer they can't refuse, send him elsewhere, and both sides could walk away better off. Either way, his story isn't over. In fact, it might just be getting interesting. Let me ask you, what's your prediction? Will Tolbert still be a Cowboy by the time Week 1 kicks off? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I want to hear from real fans, the ones who've been following this team through all the ups and downs. And if you enjoyed this breakdown and want more in-depth Cowboys content just like this, hit that like button and make sure you're subscribed to Cowboys News TV. We're pushing hard to hit that 14,000 subscriber goal, and every click brings us one step closer. Thanks for watching, and stick around, because the next video might just be about the next big move the Cowboys make.